An opera? What a jip! I came to see a show, not to watch this jerk while he types and drinks his soda water. Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for tuning in to see Pursuit of Happiness Radio on Facebook Live, which is a very fancy way to witness right-wing propaganda.
There is currently 4 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Please stand by. Pursuit of Happiness Radio will begin shortly.
What the hell is he wearing anyway? This guy dresses like a bum. If I was his program director, I'd send him back to put on some more professional attire. He looks like the guy who I would pay to clean my pool. I know what you're thinking. Why does a socialist have a pool? You wouldn't understand. It's a socialist thing.
There is currently 4 minutes to showtime.
I hope this show isn't too long. I have a pot full of unspecified meat on the stove that needs tending. Ken Webster, huh? I've seen cadavers with more presence than him. Why does this schlemiel have 2 computer screens? There are those who can't even afford 1 screen. Unless you count their smartphones, which in that case renders my argument completely useless.
Please stand by. There is 3 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Is Pursuit of Happiness a libertarian show? God, I hope not. I'm sure all he'll talk about is pot and sex workers. I bet this schmuck wears sandals with socks.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
Pursuit of Happiness should be called The Search for My Xanax. I'm sure this will be awful.
In America, you have a right to be stupid.
3 minutes to showtime.
The show will begin in exactly 3 minutes.
Not that I approve of Xanax, mind you. I can't stand Big Pharma, but that's neither here nor there. Does this man know people can see him before showtime? It's a little voyeuristic for me, but I just can't look away. It's like watching a monkey in a zoo. Not a particularly handsome monkey, I might say.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
2 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for...
Hey everybody, good to see you. It's Monday. It's a Monday show. Sound off in the comments. We'll be live in just a few short moments. Share this video if you don't mind, and let me know how everybody's doing out there. We just got a couple minutes till we're live on the air. 713-212-5950. You see in the description there. We're going to be talking about kneelers today. We're talking about, the high-speed light rail is back. They're talking about that again for some reason, and a lot more. We'll be getting all of it today on the show. Love hearing from you guys. Open phone lines the whole show. 713-212-5950. You want to call? Give us a holler and tell us where you're located today. Sound off in the comment section. I'd like to know where you guys are at.
It's wrong!
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
I hope that airtight room has decent ventilation. If he farts, it could have dire consequences.
Oh God, that show is so dumb.
Weren't you offended by that? I was just offended by that.
1 minute and 30 seconds to showtime.
This show is broken, has not even begun yet. Good! This show's unairable.
It is a thrill. I love this show.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
I just want to go on record as saying that I found that joke barbarously offensive.
No wonder you hate the show. You're everything we make fun of. You're Jewish, conservative, pro-life, born-again, overweight, Asian, homophobic, lesbian broad who cuts herself.
The show will begin in 1 minute.
Whoa! I think we got a show.
Oh yeah, we got a show.
We definitely got a show.
Oh yeah, there's a show.
This show is not high on my list of priorities.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
Is this part of the show?
This show sucks.
I'd need a flow chart to explain all the ways in which that was ridiculously insensitive.
The show will begin in approximately 30 seconds.
What the hell are we doing on this show?
What the hell? He's getting his own show?
What is this? An opera? What a jip! I came to see a show, not to watch this jerk while he types and drinks his soda water. Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for tuning in to see Pursuit of Happiness Radio on Facebook Live, which is a very fancy way to witness right-wing propaganda.
Please stand by. Pursuit of Happiness Radio will begin shortly.
The gigantic government sucks. The Pursuit of happiness, radio is deluxe. Liberty and freedom will make you smile. The pursuit of happiness on your radio dial. Just as cheeseburgers and liberty fries, it's pursuit of happiness time.
A new study claims the pandemic lockdown saved millions of lives. And it destroyed trillions of dollars. I guess I'm stating the obvious here. If you're getting a divorce because of coronavirus, congratulations. There's hundreds of thousands of you out there. In all seriousness, though, I do find it kind of remarkable that Trump is blamed for the death of, 100,000 people because of COVID-19. But they give him no credit for the millions of people who were supposedly saved, according to this study. Trump's critics aren't aware of their own hypocrisy. And I know this news, this statement describes every news involving Trump, the response to anything he does on any given day of the week. But if Trump told us to wipe our asses after we sit on the toilet seat, for example, I think his critics would complain that he's encouraging people to waste money and promoting white supremacy with the color of our Charmans. Anyway, that won't generally be the focus of today's show, but you're more than obliged to call and discuss it if you want. 713-212-5950 if you're a regular Walton and Johnson listener listening or watching us online. The other number works as well, 866-I-LOVE-WJ. But what will we be talking about? Black Lives Matter has moved from hating Target to Wendy's. We'll get to that. Taking a knee for gluten-free rights. We'll get to that as well. It's not really what it is, but just stick around. We'll explain it. Oh! The movement to defund the police now spreading across Texas, and the Texas high-speed rail is back for some reason. But let's first begin with this. James Gagliano reports that on Friday night in Atlanta, we witnessed an all-too familiar scene in the age of viral videos. Y'all know that going viral on the internet, it has its advantages and disadvantages. On one hand, if news and commentary or multimedia, like, say, a video, for example, goes viral on social media platforms, it can call attention to something incredibly important or meaningful. Something that wouldn't have garnished the same attention. Before websites like Twitter and Facebook even existed, imagine how many important and significant occurrences never caught the public's attention because the gatekeepers of information did not deem them to be worthy. Well, today, content posted online, it spreads faster than Kim Kardashian in a whole movie. And that's the whole thing we're getting at here. But on the other hand, if the video or commentary or audio is misleading, maybe it's a video that started halfway through an arrest, it makes the cops look bad even though their actions were justified. Maybe you're watching a video of something that too closely resembles something else we've recently witnessed. As a society, we can be pretty quick to misjudge things and form the wrong conclusion, and that's very bad, right? It's very, very bad. Well, in this case, in Atlanta, a bystander used a cell phone video to capture images of two cops engaged in a violent struggle on the ground with a non-compliant suspect. I want y'all to meet Rashard Brooks, a 23-year-old black man who apparently fell asleep at the wheel in a Wendy's drive-thru lane. After a citizen and witness both called the cops to complain, 2 Atlanta Police Department officers were unlucky enough to be dispatched and encounter Brooks, who was now parked in the lot there. And so a field sobriety test raised reasonable suspicion that he was drunk beyond belief. It's why he fell asleep in the drive-thru. He may have been on drugs. He may have been drunk. Something's clearly wrong here. So the cops, they performed their sworn duty. They did what they were supposed to do, enforce the law and attempt to take Brooks into custody. And that's when things got weird or ugly or predictable, if you know why I'm talking about this. A violent, sustained struggle ensued. Brooks grabs an officer's taser, attempts to flee on foot. Both cops pursue the suspect. Wendy's security camera footage, released by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, picks up the pursuit, clearly showing Brooks wheeling around and appears to fire the taser at the closest officer, less than 10 feet away. There's a split second that passes. The targeted officers, they appear to duck. They collide with a parked vehicle. Then they switch on their own tasers. To the other hand, draws his sidearm, fires at Brooks, leaving him mortally wounded on the pavement. Many in the media erroneously reported this as another unarmed black man killed by cops. That description is wholly inaccurate and dangerous. It is false. Cops are trained to use tasers. Tasers are considered to be non-lethal if used by someone who's been trained. But Brooks had no training. If he hit one of the officers in, say, the eye or the throat, he could kill them. And these new tasers that just came out, they're actually kind of cool. They shoot as much as 35 feet in distance. But again, that's lethal force if used by someone who isn't trained to safely operate the device. This guy's not. So again, the New York Post said the suspect turned a so-called victim was unarmed. He was not. But it was too late. Protesters, already energized by the inexcusable death of George Floyd, descended upon the Wendy's, where Brooks was killed, and they set it ablaze. Cars were set on fire. Demonstrators shut down traffic on I-75. I might point out here, video seems to suggest the first person to light the Wendy's on fire was a white Antifa supporter. At least that's the way it looks. And the police chief, Erica Shields, submits her resignation. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms immediately accepts. The officer was fired. The fatal shot was denied due process, and he's immediately fired. His partner resigned, has been reassigned to administrative duty, and now there's an investigation taking place. And I find it fascinating how leftists and Democrats and activists on the far left, they make every argument into a racial issue, but they're too racist to realize the deaths of George Floyd and Rayshard Brooks have nothing in common beyond the skin color of the people involved. The woke folks cheering the consequences of Brooks' death have little appreciation for what it's like to be a cop. How would they know? If you're a regular listener of this station, 950 in Houston, or the morning show I co-host, Walton and Johnson, you already know the job of your average cop is thankless. It's dangerous enough without the stoked hysteria and the distortions of the profession and its adherents, the visceral intolerance and bigotry. Many simply do not understand the use of force calculus, and the cops are forced to consider in a nanosecond, with lives hanging in the balance, including their own. Their misguided imputations in the Brooks case are as distorted as they are incorrect. Let's walk through reality here. Vilifying cops is what the left does. They love violence and civil unrest during an election year because division and fear will make more people vote for the Democrats, or so they believe. And the Republicans do it too, let's not kid ourselves. But in this instance, we're primarily talking about Democrats. Joe Biden, recently pandering to African-American audience, suggested cops shoot them in the leg and not the heart when an attacker comes at a cop with a knife. It does not work that way, you guys. The leg is moving around. You're at a distance away. I have to assume Joe Biden's never shot anybody before. But remember, this is the same guy who gave advice to people. If you're scared, go out on your back porch with a shotgun and shoot blindly into the sky. You remember when he said that? Same guy, Joe Biden. By the way, any gun rights advocate will tell you, never shoot a gun blindly into the air if you're scared. It's a terrible thing to do. The Atlanta Police Department manual states an officer may only use deadly force when he or she reasonably believes the suspect possesses a deadly weapon or any object, device, or instrument which, when used offensively against a person, is likely to or actually does result in serious bodily injury or death. Is that not what this guy did in Atlanta? That's what he did to the T. Someone, please help me understand how this shooting did not meet the threshold as justifiable use of deadly force by Atlanta Police Department guidelines. Don't like the guidelines? Change them. Don't like the rules in your city? Vote. And then explain how best to recruit and retain officers to serve in a department that applies more restrictions and creates more danger in an already dangerous profession. I see people are already calling in about this. Good. 713-212-5950. It's pretty obvious to me, guys. There are actually two separate Supreme Court cases that appear to most closely apply to the rationale behind the latest police shooting in Atlanta. 1989, Graham versus Connor. Apply objective reasonableness as the guiding imperative and standard. Brooks' shooting was objectively reasonable. This view fairly considers that incapacitation of an officer immobilized by a taser leaves him vulnerable to deadly force by a perpetrator. There was another one in 1985. Tennessee versus Gardner. The Supreme Court case that holds that officers are allowed to use deadly force when an officer has probable cause to believe the suspect poses a significant threat. So, look, don't be surprised when you hear about more and more cops stepping down from their jobs. It's happening all over the country. You can't blame them. These are people that are trying to earn an honest living, help their community, and get home safely to their families at night. Somehow, people seem to have ignored that. In another election year, we find more and more people agreeing with the criminals and not with the police officers following the laws that they voted to have passed. Imagine that.
Stop it, government. Get out of my life.
You're listening to The Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
You can't flush bad laws down the toilet, unfortunately. It's too bad. It'd be sweet if you could. You can't vote bad laws down the toilet or for that matter, unelected officials that live in the fourth branch of government. No. None of that stuff will fit down your toilet. But if it did, if you accidentally flushed it, you know, you call Nick. Nick's Plumbing, family-owned and operated here in Houston since 1979. They handle residential, commercial, HVAC systems. They are quick. They are convenient. They are competitively priced. And the cool thing is, if you go to nicksplumbing.com, they have this little yellow button in the corner called the price calculator. It'll calculate your job for you in 60 seconds. So if you're not sure if you need a really expensive job done, you don't have to call 100 places to compare prices with Nick's. It's really easy to do. Try it right now. You'll be glad you did. Plus, financing available, 12 months, no interest, no payments. If you got a big job and you think it's going to be costly, they've got your back. They want your house, your HVAC system, your plumbing to be fixed. For all that and more, go to nicksplumbing.com. You'll be glad you did.
It's Houston as it gets.
What up, people? Good to see everybody in the comments section over here. Let me see what you very awesome people are talking about. The phone lines are open. 713-212-5950. Let's see what all y'all are chatting about up in y'all. Greetings to everybody, by the way. If you haven't already done so, please share this video and please sound off in the comments. I'm very appreciative of your support and your participation in the show. Mark says, how is this guy not responsible for his own death? That's it. He is. He's dead because he acted poorly while he was drunk. Imagine that. 2 sober police officers in the middle of a work shift are more responsible to the rule of law than a drunk criminal who, by the way, do you realize what this guy in Atlanta did? He just got out of jail for beating a child, and they released him early because of COVID-19. He resisted arrest. Ken says, plain and simple, his choices caused his own death. When will people learn to comply and fight it in court? It's true. You could fight anything in court. Look, I get it. Cops want to give you the benefit of the doubt. Cops want to be polite with you. But imagine if they let this guy go. Imagine if they let this drunk guy go and he went out on his own and he crashed and he killed somebody. Well, now the cops are responsible, right? What choice do these cops have? This is the whole reason why so many people were hesitant to react to the George Floyd death. Thought, boy, the media and local lawmakers have gotten this wrong so many times in the past. Is it possible they got it wrong with this one? Well, just as quickly as the dust has settled on the George Floyd thing, now we've got a new controversial police shooting, and nobody will care to stop and take a sniff at the air and figure out if the truth is what's actually being spewed at them by the liberal media. Guess what? It's not. It's bullshank. Bullshit. I'll just say it. We're in commercial break. Let's see what people are talking about. CBIG Clark says the building was racist. Oh, they hate Wendy's. Elvis says turning to face police with a weapon in your hand is not going to end well. It sure will not. It sure will not, my man. Kent says Wendy's chili is to die for. You know, let's change subject here for a minute. I am a big fan of Wendy's fast food. I think it's good. I like the spicy chicken nuggets. I think they are delicioso. I find them to be very tasty. And Wendy's is a great business model. They say the meat is never frozen, right? Isn't that what people love about In-N-Out Burger? In-N-Out Burger sucks. Get that garbage. It's a terrible burger. It's not that good. Well, the burgers are pretty good, but the fries suck. Wendy's has been doing what In-N-Out claims they do for a long time. It's a better burger. Hang on, I think I have to do a radio show. I'll talk to you guys in a minute.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. These are challenging times, and Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans is prepared to help. If you need mortgage assistance, contact their team 24/7 at rocketmortgage.com. From their home to yours, the team at Rocket Mortgage is with you. Visit rocketmortgage.com.
iHeartRadio is your source for the best, most unique golf podcast around, full of insight and great conversations like
playing around.
I guess the commercial's not over yet. Anyway, I like Wendy's, still not my favorite fast food. JCI Grill, number 1. I like Raising Cane's and Chick-fil-A for chicken. Who doesn't love Whataburger? But Wendy's is right up there in the top 5. Wendy's is outstanding, Ken. I agree with you. They use the leftover meat to make the chili, is what I'm told. Not like out of the garbage. Geez, that'd be gross. No, but, you know, that's the whole thing about always fresh, never frozen, right? Hang on, doing a radio show. Hello, good afternoon. All the young parents out there, you probably relate with this. Over the weekend, Nickelodeon, that's the children's cable TV channel, they announced that SpongeBob SquarePants is gay. I know it doesn't make any sense. First, Paw Patrol is toxic. Now, SpongeBob SquarePants, who doesn't have genitals or a gender or a sexuality, he's a gay guy. All right, fine. And to be fair, they did not explicitly say this, but they did post a picture of SpongeBob SquarePants at the Krusty Krab sipping a mojito with Kenny Chesney. So you tell me, guys. I mean, honestly. I was a little surprised, but then again, I knew there had to be a reason why SpongeBob SquarePants had all those holes. What was the explanation? We don't know. When reached for comment, Dora the Explorer quietly tucked a softball glove into her backpack, then rollerbladed to Fantastic Sam's for another bowl cut. So she didn't have anything. We don't know. She would not answer the question. Dora the Explorer, SpongeBob SquarePants, and Paw Patrol. I want to see all three of them in the next Royal Rumble. You know, some of you may have laughed at what I just said, and others just rolled their eyes. I'm fine with that. But not surprisingly, there are some people who call management every day to complain about something that was said on this radio station. Which is weird. There's a lot of other radio channels you could listen to beyond this one. They may complain that there's too much darkness in this world right now to laugh at something. This is no time for comedy. Or maybe they're just disgusted at what I personally consider to be funny. But like, I'm over it. I don't take it personally. Like most of you, I just want to laugh again. How do we do that in 2020? How do we laugh? Maybe this will help. I don't know. Here's something to think about, ladies and gentlemen.
We are living in difficult times. Social unrest, viruses, unemployment. Meanwhile, you want to laugh. And do you know what's funny about what's going on now? Not much. With that in mind, here are some things that are funny to some, but not to others. Like Kim Kardashian taking a Mensa exam.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Buying a new iPhone. And dropping it as you leave the store.
Yes, that too.
Being out with your dad and he sees someone he knows and says, "Guess they'll let anyone in here," for the 609th time. And of course, doing the courtesy cough when you're in a public restroom stall and someone walks in.
Yes.
Funny to some, but not to others.
Not to everybody.
Brought to you by the Yin and Yang Foundation.
713-212-5950. I want to talk about the kneelers, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, a couple quick calls if you want to call the show. Josh in Channelview. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Kenny?
Not much, brother. Why'd you call?
Okay, so I reached out to you on Twitter the other day, wanting to share the story I had with the police encounter of my own.
Okay. Tell me what happened. I don't know if I saw that. Was it a private message or a DM or? Why don't you just?
Oh, I had just tweeted it to you. You responded and like, hey, yeah, I would like to hear it too. Call in when you get a chance.
Ah, okay, yeah, I get a few of those, but I think I remember this. So tell me what's going on.
Okay, so back in about 2007, I'm a plant worker. So at that time, I was working a lot of shutdown work, turnaround work.
Sure.
So go from plant to plant. Well, now I have a steady job and I've been at a plant. But anyways, I was on my way to work, had my radio turned up, working nights, about 6:30 in the evening, and I'm going through the neighborhoods and didn't realize there was a police officer behind me. With the radio turned up and not really paying attention to what was going on behind me, I pulled into the parking lot. Police officer jumps out. He pulls his gun out on me, screams at me, "Get out the car." Of course, I'm compliant. Get out the car. Lay on the ground. If you move, I'm going to put a bullet in the back of your head. So I'm like, what the heck did I do? Well, did he try to pull me over and I didn't see his lights? Did he think I ran from him? So I'm lost. So, of course, I'm complying. I mean, if he, every little bit,
right,
that I can do, not to seem as a threat, I'm doing. Well, then he's tearing apart my car. Other squad's cars show up. They're tearing apart my car. We've got one guy with his pistol, close to me, saying not to move. And after they finished tearing up my stuff, they had me get up. They handcuffed me, put me in the back of the car, and I'm still freaked out, not knowing what's going on. And after a few minutes, they pulled me out and said, "Well, the reason why we pulled you over, there was a car matching your description with the guy who looked like you, Hispanic male, shooting a gun up in the air. And we just thought it was you and you had a gun." And I'm like, well, I'm the whitest Mexican you'll ever see. So to be mistaken as a Hispanic man, I kind of took it as a compliment. Well, somebody thinks I'm Mexican.
Sure, right.
But
yeah.
I was distraught. And, I went and filed a complaint. But as I thought about it, I was like, you know what? These guys are doing their job. He thought I was shooting. He's got to take control of the situation in a hurry before it gets out of hand.
Sure.
So that's why he handled me the way he did. And after I let my emotions calm down a little bit, I told the IA guy, I don't want to press charges or I don't want to pursue this. The guy was doing his job.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know me from Adam, so I see where some people come from, but I think they're taking it out of line.
Right. I mean, and you're a white guy, right? So that was your experience. Look, Josh, this probably won't, if you listen to this show regularly, this probably will not shock you. I've had a few brushes with the law myself. Nothing that serious. Stuff that happened a long time ago. And, as a younger version of myself. And part of the time when I was having my police experiences, I probably deserved it. I was a terrible teenager. I once got arrested for skateboarding in a private parking lot when I was 14 years old. And, I was a juvenile delinquent, and the cop came in, pulled me out in front of the judge, and everybody in the courtroom, the 14-year-old version of myself, laughed at me. After the judge made a comment, he's like, "We have to waste time with this today." So everybody chuckled, and, there's a couple more of those in college, and then I got that out of my system. But the older I got, I was always mad at the law enforcement. How dare they tell me I can't skateboard in a parking lot that I don't own or know the person who owns? And the older I got, the more and more I realized, you know what? I had it coming. I deserved it. It's true. And then you get a little older and you start to see people on the other side of that, the people that were concerned, the people who brought in the law enforcement. Dude, there's bad cops. They exist. There are Karens out there who call cops on people who don't deserve it. But most of the time, the vast majority of the time, over 1 million people serving actively across the country in law enforcement come in contact with over 1 million people a day who could potentially be putting their lives in harm's way. These are 1 in 1 million instances, right? More than that. I mean, because how often do you hear about these controversial things, Josh? What, once a year, once every few months at best, right? And taking that into consideration, it's amazing we don't have, with over 300 million people in America, over 1 million law enforcement agents out there, there's 1 cop for every 300 person in this country. Imagine the odds against them. Imagine the odds against a cop dealing with protests or violent rioters. Statistically speaking, these guys don't have a prayer, Josh. We have to vilify them. I don't know. It's exhausting to me. You would have to completely ignore math and reality to just assume that systemic racism is a real thing. It's not. There's no law that says treat black guys differently at a traffic stop than you treat the white guys, or give the Eskimos the go-ahead. Native Americans, we don't even pull them over. History's too imperfect with them. None of these laws exist, Josh. That's where we are as a society, is one minute moment in millions of similar instances that seems to make a cop look bad and a suspect look good. That's the reality we get on the 9 o'clock news. And you lived it yourself. You've seen it yourself. I don't know. You think we'll ever get past this?
It's going to be difficult, and I don't know. I don't see it happening. Somebody's always going to try to find an excuse, and I said they're just people trying to get home to their families like we do every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Josh from Channelview. I appreciate you sharing that story with us. Hey, I'll tell you what, guys. You don't like bad cops? Maybe you like the good ones. Maybe you're curious where your taxpayer money goes. Coming up next segment, we have something very interesting for you. We're going to be joined by my buddy Brad Johnson. He's a journalist from Austin, Texas. We are going to take a magical journey around the Lone Star State and all the little communities that are seriously considering defunding the police and the unintended consequences that might exist in each unique town that we visit. Trust me, this is going to be interesting. If you pay attention in the next segment, you're going to love sharing this information with your in-laws at the next holiday gathering. Don't change the channel.
Stop listening to the government and start listening to the truth on Pursuit of Happiness Radio with Ken Webster Jr., a.k.a. Producer Kenny.
Like a lot of you, in my living room, I recently got firebombed by some Antifa rioters throwing Molotov cocktails. No, don't. They weren't aiming for me. The Antifa guys were aiming for, I don't know, my dog, probably. They hate my dog. And I know, what's up with that? And it made quite a mess. It took me quite a while to clean up, and I went and got the faucet so I could hose down the fire. And, then I needed water remediation work. It's town like this, you guys know how easily water can damage things. The cool thing about that is, Oops Steam Cleaning to the rescue. Not only do they clean up after regular, common, ordinary, everyday occurrences like a little racially charged riot in your living room, but also now that we're getting into tropical storm season and hurricanes, they can clean up the water damage that your house may incur, even if you're just putting out a riot from a Molotov cocktail. Either way, give them a call right now, 281-822-0561, or check out their website at oopsteam.com.
We've all been to that meeting, the one that never seems to start, where nobody can find the right cable and valuable time is wasted on technical issues. With ETS,
What up, everybody, in the comment section? The latest comment I see on my screen is that Kent loves Wendy's chili, and I agree, my man. I agree. So let me get caught up with you people. Somebody in the comment section named Virginia Webster Steele. I wonder if we're related. Shout outs to you. Marissa says burning down. Marissa on YouTube says burning down a building does nothing but destroy someone's property. She's correct. Tommy Pina says it's a crime of opportunity. Good excuse to rob and mob. That's what Rahm Emanuel said. Don't let a good crisis go to waste. Kresha says, want change in police department? Go to the academy and be the change you want. Kresha, you're so right. After the Ferguson riots, we all remember that. We're all old enough to remember a few years ago, right? After the riots in Ferguson, things chilled out a little bit. But one of the conclusions of the Ferguson outrage over, what was it, Daryl Ferguson? What was the guy's name? It was Michael Brown, and I forget the cop's name. The outrage was, oh, how could he be innocent? We need more black cops in this neighborhood. Do you know, since then, the number of black police officers in that region has gone down, not up? Just the opposite. Nobody learned anything. You want more black people policing black communities, get more black cops. It's a no-brainer. Debbie says, good Monday. Everybody says hi to Everybody say hi to Debbie. I love Debbie. Tommy says it's Atlanta. You already know. I get it, but don't blame Tyler Perry. He's cool. Gracia says, anyone want to bet that we are going to see the same crap in 2024? I would only bet on that if somebody was saying it won't happen in 2024. Wouldn't it be amazing if in early 2024, Vegas would take bets on whether or not we'll see Black Lives Matter protests and Antifa riots that year? Oh, I'd love to bet on that. I'd sell my house and buy a mansion. John says, by the way, when is Commandante? I don't know. Beverly on Facebook says, hi, everyone. Missed y'all. Still Wuhan free from New Orleans. Good. Everybody say hi to Beverly. I'm glad you're good. Glenn says, sticks and stones may break glass, but hollow points expand on impact. It's true. They're designed to do what they're designed to do. Amanda on, oh, this is funny. Amanda on YouTube says, poor Wendy, do they hate redheads? Is that not that's a hate crime. Picking on redheads that is a hate crime. I would argue, were I a lawyer, which I am not. Wendy says, Glenn hearing facts. Wendy is a different Wendy, not the Wendy of Wendy's fast food. That would be amazing. Kurt says on Facebook, they want the Second Amendment to police. I believe you are correct. Ken says Nick's Plumbing will snake your sewer line. LOL. That's true. They do snake your sewer, says Ken on YouTube. He's correct. Timothy on Facebook says, I posted a link of a seagull eating rabbit whole. It's really kind of impressive. Timothy, I saw that video too. That was bananas, bro. That video is crazy. Elvis on Facebook says the left doesn't care one bit that the guy was guilty of causing his own death. They're just looking for excuses to create mayhem. We will see similar, or as Kenny says, similar. I'm sure I'm saying it right. Occurrences until November. You guys love my Midwest accent. Hang on, I got to do a radio show. There's a new report out, and you guys know how I love me some publicly funded reports. Oh, thank God. The University of something has a report out. A new report claims 66% of Americans oppose defunding the police. And honestly, I know you think based on the news it was going to go in the other way. I'm not surprised. I mean, think about it. Bachelorette parties don't want to watch a male stripper dressed as a social worker. That would be totally boring. They wouldn't enjoy that. That would ruin bachelorette parties. Thank you, police officers. Even still, after calls from around the country to defund the cops, here in Houston, Texas, we went the exact opposite route. Y'all know I'm no big fan of Mayor Turner. I don't care for him. He's a devout liberal Democrat. But he says he will not defund. He's giving them an increase in their budget this year. This might surprise some Houston area residents. The biggest city in Texas is not the most liberal or progressive in the state. Honestly, we're probably like number 3 or number 4, right behind. I think Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, Houston in that order. Fort Worth right after us, but they're giving us a run for our money. Houston's actually pretty moderate. while progressive policies certainly pop up on the Houston area radar, they're not typically the norm. Our problem has more to do with cronyism. Like our mayor takes money from people accused of human trafficking, but that's a conversation for another day. Our neighbors to the northeast, Austin, Texas, on the other hand, they do not feel the same way. Austin City Council unanimously approved a handful of police-related agenda items in the last week or so, including an undetermined budget cut. Austin Chronicle thinks it's going to be $20 billion. That's a lot of money. They'll be directing portions of police funding to social service type programs, again, whatever that means. They're setting a goal for zero racial disparity in police metrics. They're limiting the use of force protocols. They're prohibiting the use of less lethal munitions on crowds. I think they're talking about tasers, but after what just happened this weekend, they may have changed their mind about that. Austinites love the idea of defunding the cops. In San Antonio, they seem to be talking about it too. But Texas is a big place. There's a lot of lawmakers and mayors and government officials, both elected and unelected, who will be playing a role in deciding if we chase cops out of the Lone Star State. So here to walk us around Texas and explain who's for or against defunding the Popo is a friend of the show, Brad Johnson from The Texan News. Brad, how are you from communist-occupied Austin, Texas today, sir?
I'm doing well, Ken. How are you doing?
You know, all things considered, pretty well. You just did a study. You guys published a list at thetexannews.com. TheTexan.news, excuse me, where you talk about a study. You listed and published the name of every elected official, every congressional representative, every state representative. This is lawmakers and their position on how they feel about defunding cops. And the results of what you came up with were actually a little surprising when you look at all the people side by side. You started your list off with high-ranking people you'd expect. John Cornyn, Ted Cruz, Louis Gohmert, Dan Crenshaw. You go right down the list. Most of the top elected officials in our state, what do they say?
Well, I think first of all, you have to approach it as there's not one set proposal for that falls under the umbrella defund the police.
Right.
So what we did when we asked the questions were we listed out a number of different things that are included, such as, the complete abolition of police departments. That's, the most extreme one. Then there's, using funding to leverage policy changes. And then, as you mentioned, shifting portions of money to different community resources.
Yes.
So that's the framework by which we operated. We sent those to all the lawmakers. John Cornyn and Ted Cruz came out with statements. Ted Cruz's was very forceful. He does not support the defunding, as the umbrella term is, defunding of police. Cornyn danced around the question a little bit more, didn't give a definitive answer. Interestingly enough, Lizzie Fletcher down in Houston had a more forceful statement against quote defunding the police than John Cornyn did.
Because it's an election year, Brad. She knows all these moderates in the middle of the town, they're not going to vote for her. I live in her district, and looking around me, the kind of people I live around, even the raging Democrats, they don't seem like they want to defund the police. But then, as soon as the election's over, I think most people probably know what Lizzie Fletcher's going to transform into this other candidate again. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to address that.
No,
yeah, go on.
So that dynamic was interesting. Like you said, it is an election year, so you got to keep that in mind for all of these elected officials.
Right.
Another one, Dan Crenshaw came out forcefully against it. This is not a solution. And then he acknowledged that there are some reforms that need to be done, which many people are. It depends on the reform, right? And it's hard for people to support a movement or a slogan when it has all these different branches within it that nobody's really leading the discussion on. So you can't really say whether this movement to defund the police is strictly about straight up abolishing the department or something as much less serious as just shifting money around.
Exactly, because Bernie Sanders is against defunding, and everybody in the Dem squad's for it. So right away, you see how defunding the cops, it just means something different everywhere. But tell us, though, before we run out of time, whose answer was the most surprising? I see Joaquin Castro and Sheila Jackson-Lee won't even talk to you guys. What were you surprised to find out, and why do you think some of these people didn't answer you?
Well, I think a lot of them don't want to be on record one way or the other on this question because it is it is a loaded question, just because of how much all of the tension surrounding the defund the police narrative. I would say some of the Republicans that didn't get back to us were pretty surprising. Like down in your area, Randy Weber, Pete Olson were a couple that didn't get back to us. Now that may have been they didn't see the email.
Sure.
It's their job to converse with the press on these types of questions. So.
I feel like they get less email than Ted Cruz, Dan Crenshaw, and John Cornyn, but go on.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah.
One that I got was from Vicente Gonzalez. And he came out, he gave a pretty lengthy statement about how, he doesn't support the extreme positions, but he talks about a few things that he would like to see changed in terms of specifically, making the training methods, improving them, and that kind of thing. So,
sure.
Really, I would say the did not replies speak louder than the replies.
Yes. Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? Was there anybody that's in an incredibly crime-ridden area who seems to suggest getting rid of the police or abolishing the police or defunding them, anything along those lines? Something that seemed a little problematic, clearly would cause trouble down the road.
Yeah, you would think. I haven't seen many of these representatives, on the record, other than with what we just did.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, the question should be posed to, Sheila Jackson Lee, Al Green in Houston.
They're not going to answer you, Brad. I've been trying to interview them for years. Since 2012, when I moved to Texas, I've been trying to get them to come on the radio with us, and they won't do it. Brad, I love talking to you. I probably should have put aside more time for it today. Find Brad on Twitter at BradJ_TX, or just go to thetexan.news. They do awesome work there. I appreciate your time today, Brad. Let's take one quick one before we go to break. Hey, Zeus of Houston, real quick, bro. What's on your mind?
Yes, real quick. On corruption in Houston, don't be surprised by it. Since the 70s, I was raised in Chicago till the 80s, early 70s, and here's the deal. It's a hub for human trafficking and drugs, and I know for a fact, no names, but from the people that used to be my friends that turned into smoking dope and stuff up in the South Chicago area and all that, a small percentage of the Houston Police Department or Metro, a small percentage have always been on the cartel payroll to help transport, especially cocaine, up to...
Hello? Jesus, your phone is cutting out, man. I don't know if you're there or not. Jesus is an interesting guy. He's called the show before. 713-212-5950. I had no idea that Jesus was also from Chicago. If you don't listen to the show regularly, that information probably means nothing to you. Hey, I'll tell you what, when we get back, let's take a look at this football thing. People are very touchy about football right now, particularly when it comes to where people's knees are. So, you know the number to call the show. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Pursuit of Happiness Radio. I guess it's not available in Canada, eh?
On Sunday, your dad is going to have one day out of the year where we honor and respect him. Maybe we're talking not so much about your dad, but your husband. Either way, you look at all the problems in America right now. People out violently rioting, protesting. It's hard to imagine that a lot of people that are doing that would be doing it if not for the fact that they don't have a good relationship with their dad. Good dads matter. Dads are important. We love dads. It's a statistical proven fact. Generally, families with good dads in them end up having a good future. They do better in life. If you're doing well in life because you have a good dad, go out and do your dad a favor. Go to Shaw's Jewelry. They've been at West Gray and Montrose. They've been there for 50 years. They got great prices. They have great gifts for your dad, like pre-owned luxury watches. You could buy your dad a gift that you didn't even previously think you could afford, but you actually can at Shaw's because they have great merchandise at the best price. And there's almost no overhead because they don't have to pay off their mortgage anymore. They paid it off a long time ago. Don't believe me? Give them a call, 713-522-4884, or go check them out. Honor dads this weekend with a quick trip over to West Gray and Montrose. Say hello to the people at Shaw's Jewelry.
This guy's got issues.
Issues we all face every day.
Hey, everybody. Let me see, get caught up with all y'all calls. I wish we didn't lose Jesus. His phone cut out. I couldn't understand a lot of what he was saying anyway, but I always feel bad not taking people's calls because people bitch and complain about that. They go, You tell us to call, and then we sit on hold, and I think they're right to complain. So I've tried to get better at taking people's calls during the show. Instead, I just go on a rant, and I lose track of time. I've really gotten better at that. I don't think it's as good of a show without your calls. Aaron says, who has 2 thumbs and out of Facebook jail? This guy, that's who. Both accounts. LOL, so I have a backup. Aaron, it probably does not surprise a lot of our social media followers and listeners online that I, too, have backup accounts, and I resemble that comment, and I'm glad you're free. Somebody buy him a beer. He just got out of jail. Jordan says, redheads already have enough to deal with since they don't have souls. Hey, Jordan, not nice. Jordan continues, wait, could someone fact check me on that? I'm just going off pop culture memes. Mostly South Park memes, but even still, funny but mean. Gary said, we love our redheads here. Redheads are foxy women. They really are. Gary says, damn, Kenny, enough with the loud-ass bumper music. I don't control that. That's my producer. Bobo Brown on YouTube says, I'd like to make a comment. You can. 713-212-5950. Phone lines are open right now. It looks like there's 1 or 2 people. Someone's calling in to ask a question, and there's someone else on hold, but we'll take your calls. Bobo says hello. Yeah, call Bobo. Jason says, welcome to Redhead Political Chat. Exactly. CBI G. Clark says howdy on YouTube. Gresha says, let's get to some fresh comments here where someone's saying something not in response to someone else. Let's see. Keep up the hard work, says Bobo. Thank you. Sorry, there's a lot of comments here that have nothing to do with the show, but that's okay. We want you guys to chat about things. Easy Jason says, bunch of stupid, close-minded old people. I agree with you, bunch of fools, but I personally know racist cops. My old friend, whose name I won't say, has told me that he's beat black people up for no reason and laughed about it. If you can't at least ask questions about how we can improve policing, then you are just as bad as the libs. I mean, look, I don't disagree with you. Most cops are not bad people. Do racist cops exist? Racist everything exists. Racist doctors exist. There's all kinds of racism out there. But don't lump in the good ones with the bad apples, you know? If they represent more than 20%, I see some serious need for reform. If they represent less than 5%, maybe we need a little bit of reform. But police reform should not be a one-size-fits-all package. In much the same way that we immediately could see how Obamacare was problematic if applied to everyone in the country of every age, gender, and demographic the same way. Surely you must see how that's true of police reform. The issues that cops in rural Wyoming deal with infinitely different than the cops in inner city Atlanta. So why would we? It's just, same thing with coronavirus. What happened in New York was way different than what happened in Houston. Why would we apply the same rules to Houston that we apply to New York? It's horrible. All right. Aaron says, I literally just read the Atlanta guy was on COVID release for child endangerment. Anyone else see that? Aaron, yes, I also saw that. He was let out of jail because of the coronavirus pandemic, but he was in there for beating up children. Edward said, someone get an EJ. Hang on, I got to go on. 212. In case you hadn't heard, strange things are afoot. Coachella was canceled to stop the spread of coronavirus. Although, let's be honest, this will also do a lot to put a dent into STDs. You know, you got to look at the pros and cons of everything, kids. You don't like everything about police reform? Maybe you like some of it. You don't like everything about canceling all the concerts? Surely you don't want all the young people on the West Coast to get herpes this summer, right? I think so. 866-I-LOVE-WJ. Don in Manville, what's up?
Hey, Ken, thank you for taking my call. If I may, I'd like to switch gears on you a little bit. I've been watching Charles Blaine on What's Your Point on Sunday mornings. I know you've had him for a guest on your show.
We do a podcast together.
Okay, what is the position I think was vacated as the Harris County Republican Party?
Okay, so we talked about this. You didn't know this. Right at the same time on Friday, we talked about this. But let's circle back around because it's interesting. So the Harris County Republican chair recently became vacated. And look, I don't get too involved in inter-party local stuff. I don't want to. I want everybody to tune into the show, and I'm not trying to pick my favorites in the primaries or the city council race when there's other options. But in this case, the controversy had a little bit to do with a Black Lives Matter and Martin Luther King Jr. flyer promoting a certain candidate that had a banana on it, and some people saw it as a racial thing. You know, I'll be the first to admit, usually I'm good at picking up on that stuff. The first time I saw it, I was really confused. I thought they were making fun of those Apple ads. They go, is this an apple or is this a banana? And then I read the comments and I was like, oh, this is a race thing. Of course it is. Or at least that's how people perceived it. So fine, now there's this opening. And my buddy Charles Blaine, he runs a group called urbanreform.org. He's he's 29, he's 30, he's a younger guy. He's from Jersey. He moved to Texas so he could be part of Abbott's campaign. He worked hard for Governor Abbott. He was part of Empower Texans, which you may know is really the last little inkling that's left over of the Tea Party here in Texas. They're the guys who got rid of Speaker of the House Dennis Bonnen. I think everybody liked that, whether you're a Tea Party Republican or not. I think a lot of people were happy to see Bonnen go. So Charles has high-ranking enemies in the establishment of the Republican Party. Even though he's really more of a Republican than they are, right? He's more of a conservative, at least. What does it mean to be a Republican? It's a party. Charles was never planning to run for Harris County Republican Party chair, never planned to do it. And even though he wasn't planning to, there was a rumor that he was going to. So somebody inside the party, some precinct chair or something like that, sent out an anonymous email with the Harris County Republican Party tag on it, like it was an official email. And they took all these tweets and posts that he had. He's a black guy. I only say that to make this point. Like a lot of black conservatives, Charles is concerned about corruption in government, and he's concerned about black rights, which maybe makes him look a little different than, somebody, just a run-of-the-mill, far-right, white Republican. Fine, I'm not trying to make this about race, but he calls out racial injustice when he sees it. And I don't like racial injustice either. I assume most of my listeners don't. People that aren't into identity politics, which Charles is also not into. And I know this is probably longer of an answer than you wanted, but it's a complicated thing, and it all ends with this. They posted all these pictures of tweets and things, and they tried to make it seem as though it was out of context, and they tried to make it look like it was a warning from the Harris County Republican Party. I can't publicly say who did it on the air, who it was that sent out this anonymous email, but let's just say I know. And it makes me want to swear on the radio. It infuriates me so much because it's someone I previously thought was one of the good guys, one of the Liberty Republicans, one of the small government Republicans, not another establishment hack. And now we realize that's not the case. Charles was never planning to run for precinct chair. And they did a hit job on him for the second time, Don. A couple years ago, they did a hit job on my buddy Charles where they made it seem like he was too conservative for the Harris County Republicans. And now they were trying to make it sound like he was too liberal, both of which are ridiculous. He's an independent conservative. He was never trying to run for the chair. They did a hit job on an innocent guy. And by the way, Charles's job in life is urbanreform.org is a group that goes out and promotes free market principles to inner city political activists who don't often realize these options even exist because they spend all day listening to a Democrat who's middle left argue with a Democrat who's far left. Charles is the perfect voice for this. He's a young, cool, conservative black guy. He understands life in the inner city. He would have been great. He wasn't even considering running, and he became a victim of some establishment hit job. And by the way, that's happened to me before. Again, Don, I know it's a longer answer than you want, but it just pissed me off when that happened. So Charles came on the air to talk about it, and he's not running for chair, by the way. What were you going to say? I'm sorry, that's a really long answer, but I couldn't help myself.
Well, from what I've heard of him being on your show, and then I watched that What's Your Point, the kid is a smart kid. I was kind of hoping that he would run for that because I think he would win. I'm going to continue to watch him. I mean, there hasn't been anything that he has said yet, either on TV or on a radio program, that I have disagreed with. I think he's a very smart kid, and he's going to go places.
Yeah, a lot of people agree with you. He's got a lot of powerful friends, and he's a young dude. He just really got started with this. I'm a big fan of Charles. Michael Berry across the hall. He is on that show every Sunday morning with Bill King and some other people. I like Bill. You know, me and Bill have a mixed history together of agreeing and disagreeing on the radio. But Charles is a dude, look out for Charles. And were Charles to take over the Harris County Republican Party, it would have really changed things in Houston politics. Because there seems to be there's this idea that the Republican Party has that, we'll always lose races in big cities. Don't even run a mayoral candidate. Don't support Bill King or Tony Buzbee because we'll just be called racist. And by default, Charles Blaine would have erased all of those arguments. Imagine if Houston had a Republican mayor. Nobody thinks that's possible, but it could be.
Oh, what a concept.
I know, it's amazing. It's amazing. Once upon a time, nobody would have doubted that. Now they don't even try in this city. Yeah, it pisses me off. But that's that. Yeah, did you have any other thoughts on that, Don?
No, just thank you for taking my call. You got a good show and a loyal listener. And like I say, Charles Blaine, just keep up the good work.
Yeah.
And have a good day, Ken.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that. Don's a good dude. It's very cool of him. Hey, by the way, before we run out of time here today, do you remember the high-speed light rail that never happened? Well, guess what? It's happening again. We've talked about this in Texas for years. They wanted to build a train from Houston to Dallas that got you there in 90 minutes. It was incredibly expensive. It didn't make any sense. It was almost like saying everybody's going to ride a licorice stick from Houston to Dallas. What does it cost? $1 gajillion. It's totally realistic. Nobody liked the idea. Now that we're living in a world where infectious diseases are creeping around the public transit vehicles like a crackhead looking for a stray rock, suddenly, the same people that told you not to leave your house because of coronavirus are telling us it's the right time to start encouraging Texans to take a publicly operated train. And I guess I'm alone in a room filled with people who don't share that opinion. I think it's a horrible idea. The high-speed train planned between Dallas and Houston is now looking for federal funding to deal with the effects of economic hardship related to coronavirus lockdowns. The same people that want this to happen are also the people that told you to close your business. It's insane, right? So fine, Texas Central, they're a railroad company. They're involved in this. And I don't have a problem with railroads in Texas, but this just doesn't feel like it could work. There's a state senator, Robert Nichols. He's from Jacksonville. He's saying the light project, they said it hit a snag. We need the federal government to help us. I never understand these Republicans who tell us, hey, more state rights, more keep it local. By the way, we need the federal government to help us build a train nobody's going to ride. Fine, it's cute and funny, but we've heard this before. There's numerous studies concluding that building a high-speed rail between Dallas and Houston would be unsustainable, taxpayer-funded train wreck. And here we are again, having this conversation. For several years, as companies insisted that they won't need taxpayer money to bail out the project, and now they do. Unpersuaded by the facts, attempting to quell growing public furor over the project, they have requested for 18 months that an independent feasibility study be conducted on its proposed high-speed train. And everything about this is exactly what you expect them to say. If history is any indication, the percent figure is more in line with reality here. It's going to be higher and higher. Every study that's told us this, national and international studies, local studies. Do you remember when Ed Emmett lost his position? He lost a lot of fans as Harris County judge because he could not let the thing go with the Astrodome. There's no reason to keep the Astrodome. It's too expensive to have it. Your Republican voter base says, we don't want it. Still, Ed Emmett fought for it. And do you know what happened? He became so unpopular that, at least in part, that's part of the reason why we got Lena Hidalgo. Jimmy Barrett's next on terrestrial radio. I'll see you all in the after show on social media, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. I stream on all three. Meet me in a couple minutes.
Kiss your ass when you listen to the show.
Well, that was real Texas, real talk. It's real. Or our iHeartRadio app.
Fear of missing out can lead to irrational investor behavior and increased overall risk. We have continued to pour over the data related to the virus, economy, and financial markets. Our views are data-driven and not an emotional response to an equity market that has rebounded off the March lows and seen continued volatility. We think as long-term investors, it is far more important to observe the direction of the changes in the data. Selectivity in where investors allocate funds in the short term appears to be prudent at this time. Some market data indicates that even if the reopening of the economy goes without a hitch, we may be in the early stages of a distress cycle.
All right, let's do the after party.
Exercise more care in selecting their exposures, and they should work with an experienced advisor with access to an in-house investment team that can navigate a more difficult environment.
Hello to all my friends out there. Hello again to all my friends. It's time to start the show. We're talking about good things, just so that you know. This is not the singing part of the show. I'm just finding my notes. I've gotten hate mail before from people telling me, Kenny, I agree with everything you say, but if you sing on the radio one more fucking time, I will never listen again. Deal. I'll never sing again on the radio. Here's some bad news for you smarty pants liberals. Jeopardy has run out of original episodes. And here's some more worse news. Until it returns, they're replacing it with repeats of Paw Patrol. Activists want the police dog from Nickelodeon show Paw Patrol canceled. They also want Michael Vick to execute McGruff the crime dog, but I don't think it's going to happen. And cancel culture has also found its way to the University of Texas. The eyes of Texas. I won't sing, which isn't surprising because that college is in Austin, Texas. But what is surprising is the thing they're trying to cancel. According to young college-age activists, the official fight song of the University of Texas is racist and problematic. So young left-leaning people that don't even know what they believe yet because they're too young and dumb to know better, they're trying to cancel school pride and tradition at the University of Texas, which has always been a liberally, publicly funded educational institution. For as long as I've been alive, there's no tradition there that's glaringly right-wing, right? So on Friday, this small group of football players and athletes from the University of Texas are calling on the school to rename several campus buildings. They want to cancel and replace the traditional fight song, and they want to donate money from the athletic department to Black Lives Matter organizations, which is a funny thing to do. It's just funny, like, huh? Because think about it. Where does most of the I've looked into this. A vast majority of the scholarships from the University of Texas Athletic Department go to low-income, inner-city ethnic minorities who are trying to improve their lives. You want to take the money away from them to go to college and get a scholarship and give it to some guy that burned down a drugstore and they want him to get bailed out? Okay, I guess. That makes a lot of sense. So there's a public letter. It was sent on behalf of the Longhorn student-athlete body. But it's not from the student-athlete body. It's from nobody. It's an anonymous letter that was posted on social media by some freshmen and, incoming athletes, not understanding that you're joining a fraternal and sororital order of people that are very passionate about the traditions at their university. It's beloved. Anyway, they're demanding these things. The unsigned letter posted to social media accounts of multiple Longhorn athletes says, change all the traditions, get rid of them, take your money, give it away to people that don't go to school here, which makes perfect sense. Of course it does. The student-athlete group said they were motivated to make changes on campus after the death of George Floyd. So it's the University of Texas's fault. Nay, it's UT's fight song that killed George Floyd. I did not see that coming. I wasn't expecting it. So what are they changing here? They're changing, among other things, they want to change the school song. I wondered, what is the lyrics to this thing? The eyes of Texas are upon you. I won't sing it all the livelong day. Do not think you can escape them at night or early in the morn. The eyes of Texas are upon you till Gabriel blows his horn. How is that racist? I'm actively watching the comments of this video on all three platforms. Can someone explain this to me? I've been reading all day. I don't get why it's racist. How is it racist? John Sinclair wrote the Texas-specific song lyric in 1903 to the tune of I've Been Working on the Railroad. Ironically, we were just talking about a railroad that was published 9 years earlier in 1894. What's it about? Is it about race? Turns out, not exactly. The lyrics are said to be intended to poke fun at University President Colonel Prather. Prather had attended Washington College, now Washington and Lee University, whose president, Robert E. Lee, would frequently tell students, the eyes of the South are upon you. Prather was known for including in his speeches a similar admonition. I'm not going to use that word. A similar catchphrase. The eyes of Texas are upon you. It was kind of poking fun at the South and pointing out that Texas is different from the rest of the South. It's where the South meets the Southwest, meaning that the state of Texas was watching and expecting the students to go out and do great things. Prather enjoyed the song, promoted its usage, laughed about it, didn't mind that he was being made fun of. He died not long thereafter. The song was played at his funeral. Again, can someone tell me why that's racist? Maybe I'm just too stupid to get it. Believe me, it would not be the first time. I've been stupid before. I know it's shocking. It's happened before. I have gotten things wrong. There have been things I did not understand. That is going to be one of them. Now, while we're talking about sports, let me find another thing in my notes here that I wanted to talk about. Anybody out there a football fan? Let's talk about that kneeling thing for a minute. If you've ever been a fan of J.J. Watt or Drew Brees, because of their patriotism, their support for the flag, and their love of where they come from, Texas, actually, both of them spent a lot of time in their life living in Texas. Drew Brees, born in Dallas. J.J. Watt, probably the most famous football player in Texas. The wind has changed. They no longer support those things. They no longer appear to feel that way. NFL star J.J. Watt just added to the chorus of players defending the NFL kneeling protest, stating that if you still think it's about disrespecting the flag, you clearly haven't been listening. Before I explain to you why J.J. Watt is wrong, please understand. I just told you, I get things wrong. I've made mistakes before. Right? I've gotten things wrong on the air. I will admit that it's happened before. J.J. Watt, a man I respect for what he's done for the community. Same with Drew Brees. J.J. Watt, you are wrong. Say it with me now, everyone. It's definitely about the flag, and I could prove it for you right now. The claim that these protests aren't about the flag has been the most common defense of kneeling from sports figures in the media for the last 2 to 3 years. It is also false. The claim that these protesters, no, it's not about the flag, they're wrong. Maybe they don't remember 2 or 3 years ago, but I do. When we sing the national anthem at football games, we are placing our hand over our hearts and we are saluting the flag. That's literally what it's about. And I don't like people kneeling for the flag, just like I'm not a fan of burning the flag. But look, I'll defend your right to do it. Taking a knee during the national anthem, not the biggest problem I've got. It's not even in the top 100. Assuming your employer's okay with it, if they say you can kneel, go ahead and kneel. Otherwise, it's up to the employer. Because football players work for private companies. If football players want to kneel for the flag, I've got better things to worry about. But don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. It is about the flag, guys. If you kneel while we salute the flag, your kneeling is clearly about the flag. And aside from the obvious, using the flag as the vehicle of protest makes the protest about the flag. We should pay attention specifically to how this protest originated. Colin Kaepernick in 2016. Remember him? Colin Kaepernick said, "I am not going to stand up to show pride for a flag in a country that oppresses black people and people of color." Oh! So the guy that invented kneeling for the flag says it's because it's about disrespecting the flag. Oh, the very guy that started the trend says that. I know what you're saying. Well, he said that once, Kenny. Fine. One might still argue, even then, that the protests aren't really about the flag, but about police brutality and racism. But this line also falls short. Because in 2017, there was a massive increase in players kneeling not because of a recent event involving police, but because Trump had called on the NFL to punish players who knelt. The Associated Press estimated at the time 200 players were taking a knee in the third week of protests, not because of police brutality, but in unity with the lesser number of players who had already been kneeling. So yes, the protest was about the flag, at least partly. They were in solidarity with Colin Kaepernick and his homies, right? The players have every right to go out and continue their protest. They always have. Just like you could burn a flag, it's legal, you can do it. But they might also do well to find a form of protest of police brutality that carries with it a more unifying connotation. It shouldn't be this complicated to rally the public to a cause that is far less controversial than the form of protest itself. We all want unjustified violence to end. I don't know anybody that wants more unjustified violence, and most of my friends, my close friends, are right-wing. It's not a one-sided partisan argument. Kneeling has become so popular now that people forgot why they're even kneeling in the first place. Hell, now the NFL is embracing it, apparently. Here's some bad news for you smarty pants liberals out there. You're just wrong. Deal with it. We've explained it. We've explained it over and over again. You're welcome not to like it, but you are wrong about that. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I actually have some other stuff here in my notes, but I have a phone meeting I got to get to in about 30 minutes. But that means we have a little bit of time here. We are yada, 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 yada. How's everybody doing out there? You guys know what, right before we got on the air today, Mayor Turner made an announcement. I was going to talk about it. What about Freedom Over Texas? The big fireworks display, it's televised. Texas is so important that not every city does this. We televise here in the biggest city in Texas. We televise our fireworks downtown. It's a big event. It's a big party. They make a big deal. Not every city, not every community does this. We do it in Texas. It's a pretty big show. Houston's a pretty big deal. We have some pretty big cojones in Texas. Are we going to cancel this thing? Well, it turns out we're not, but you can't attend it. It's a virtual Freedom of Texas thing. And it sounds like they're still going to have the fireworks, but you can't go out and watch. Now, how many people do you think are going to do that? What are they going to do? Could you imagine how fucking nuts that would be if you showed up to watch the fireworks, a celebration of your freedom as a mother-loving American, and you got arrested for watching the fireworks? Oh, civil disobedience is coming your way. This is a protest I encourage. We had an idea on Walton and Johnson, and I want everybody on the Gulf Coast to do this. Shout outs to Odom McAllister in the comments section. If you live in a community where you have been told on the 4th of July not to fire off your fireworks, not to attend a public fireworks gathering, we looked into this. Here in the Central Time Zone, I believe in Houston at least, the sun sets at about 8:30. It takes a minute for it to get dark. Let's wait till 9 p.m. 10 p.m. if you're East Coast. We got a lot of homies in Georgia out there. We got a lot of friends in Florida. If you're over there on the East Coast, 10 p.m. for you, 9 p.m. for us. We all go out and fire fireworks at 9 p.m. Everybody do it at the same time. If you don't know where to buy fireworks, roadside fireworks stand, you better ask somebody. Just if you can't do it in your state, I don't know about every state that surrounds us. I'm from a state where you can't buy fireworks. You got to drive to Indiana to do it. One of the many reasons I left Illinois. If you cannot find a place to buy fireworks, you either get them black market or you drive to Texas. Because it's easy to get here. Everybody go out at 9 p.m. They can't arrest us all. And if you live in a blue state where you still can't open your business, I couldn't even imagine the insanity of that. Open your business. They can't arrest us all. You are an American. If people can riot and loot, if we freed all the rioters, they can't arrest the small business owners, and they sure as shit can't arrest you for lighting off fireworks. We live in a country where we shot tyrants in the face in order to get our rights back. And I'm not suggesting you hurt anybody. I do not encourage violence. I'm only asking you to understand the history of this country. The reason we exist today. The reason that my great-grandfather died in a gunfight while serving as a U.S. Marshal. The reason why both of my grandparents went overseas during World War II and risked their lives for a little thing we call liberty. Everybody else could kiss my ass. That's what we're doing now. You don't like it? Go live in Cuba. Get on a boat and float your little ass over there. There's a reason why nobody runs away from America to live in communist-loving Venezuela. Seriously, F you. I love all you guys, though. Y'all are fucking awesome. You guys are cool as shit. Thanks for watching my show. Thanks for hanging with us for the after show every day. We usually hang for 15, 30 minutes. I don't know. I was up late last night. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did a lot of drinking this weekend. I got a phone meeting I got to go get to in a little bit. I probably have a little time, but there's going to be a lot going on the radio today. Shit is going to keep getting weirder in this country. It's not over yet. We're closer. You know how it's been weird as fuck over the last few months? In my heart of hearts, it's telling me it's not over yet. There will be more. Believe me. My hand on the Bible. We're a good ways away from. It's an election year, guys. In Chicago, here's how I know this. I'm from Chicago. In Chicago, as it gets hotter and hotter out, we notice it gets weirder and weirder. And if Chicago is going to get weird no matter what, you could bet every other big city in America will. The fact that it is an election year, count on it. Believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. They're talking about, the CDC is talking about another run of lockdowns right now, right? We're talking about tropical storms. They're saying it's going to be hotter than ever this year. When it gets hot in the ocean, when it gets hot in the Gulf Coast, we're going to have hurricanes. They're coming. Remember when everybody laughed at us back in February because people like us were buying up all the ammo? You're going to be glad as fuck you bought that ammo, guys. I'll see you all real quick. Please share this video. Tell your friends about the show. Question authority. Love your country. Respect your neighbor. If you're able to legally do it. If you're able to legally do it, go to church. Find a church. Even if you're not religious. I find there's a lot of good messages. Every major religion seems to share with one another, and I agree with all of them. God bless you all. See you early in the morning. And remember, there's nothing wrong with trying to be happy. It's one of the reasons we created this radio show, and it's one of the reasons our founding fathers created this country.